Hey, friends, welcome back to this episode of Test Those Breasts. I am your host, Jamie Vaughn, and today I am so excited to have my friend Stephanie Grimaldi-Lang on my show. So, Stephanie is a breast cancer survivor who was born and raised on Long Island, New York, and she has deep roots in her community. She is a proud mother of three wonderful children, and she shares a loving partnership with her husband, Alan. Stephanie's commitment to her family is as strong as her dedication to her career, and she effortlessly balances both aspects of her life. Additionally, Stephanie has a passion for boating, finding joy in exploring the serene waters surrounding Asher Asheroken. Did I say that right, Stephanie?
Yeah,
She
you
also
did.
awesome. She also enjoys the thrill of riding four-wheelers, embracing the adrenaline rush and the freedom of off-road adventures. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun, Stephanie. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. We were just talking before we started recording about pronunciations of words, and sometimes it's very challenging for people, but we just, we have to make sure that we're
You
just
got it.
practicing, right? And we're all
You
human.
got it. You
I'm
got
thinking,
it.
right?
That's
Well,
right.
so I want to let my audience know that I met you, and you're actually the one who led me to Dr. David Light, who is a breast surgeon in New York. And I just interviewed him, and his episode is releasing tomorrow, June 11, 2024, which is a Tuesday. But that is also another special day, weird day for me, actually. It is the 2-year anniversary of my breast cancer
Oh,
diagnosis.
wow.
So it just
Wow.
happens to land on June 11th. So,
That's
and
a,
I
that's a
really
good sign.
appreciate, yeah, I just appreciate your, leading me to him because as my audience knows, I'm always seeking out, all of the wonderful, like top notch breast surgeons, plastic surgeons, microsurgeons around our country so that people have more options about where to go. And so I had such a wonderful conversation with him. And thanks to you, I was able to meet him. You are one of his
Great.
patients, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But first, I want to find out more about Stephanie. Like, who were you before breast cancer? What was going on?
I mean, life was good. Life was really good. And when I say that, married, I have a wonderful family, of a blended family. Um, I had the opportunity to purchase a second home in Naples, Florida, which is that's my happy place. I love it there. Things were just going great. Life was so good. Married life was great. Second home was great. We were enjoying life, and I decided in October. Well, actually, I let me back up a little bit. I decided in 2019 that because I had breast implants, and I had them for cosmetic reasons. Um, it was time for me to, change my implants because they're not lifetime devices. Every 10 years, you got to go and change them and everything. And I just had this, I don't know, I'm going to call it a gut feeling, right? You know what? I don't want them anymore. I don't want them. Let's just take them out. I'm sick of every 10 years going in for surgeries. It's costing me a fortune every time, you got to go in. And I said, I just, whatever it is, I don't care. I'll take them out. If I'm a A cup, I'm an A cup. I don't care. There was something telling me to take them out. Um, I had started with these symptoms and I didn't understand what these symptoms were from. And some of these symptoms I had was like a brain fog. I had skin rashes. I had like I was extremely tired. I had what started out as Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid disease, right? And I'm thinking like all these different symptoms I was having, and I was like, why? Where did this come from? And I had started doing some research back in 2018, and I had found a Facebook group, and they were talking about this breast implant illness, which I was like, what is breast implant illness? Sure enough, all of my symptoms were of breast implant illness. And that was when that light bulb moment went off. And I said, my implants are causing me all these symptoms. So let's take it out. I'm done. Let's go. We're going to, go in and do this. So I did a lot of research. I found, I wanted a plastic surgeon that understood breast implant illness, because a lot of plastic surgeons don't. They think we're crazy. So
Mhm.
I had done my research. I found a doctor in Florida that I was going to go to. And when I booked my surgery, it was going to be a year out. I said, okay, it is what it is. It's a year out. It gives me time to save money. And I had my surgery scheduled for May of 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. So my surgery that was supposed to be May of 2020 got pushed back to December of 2020. Okay, it is what it is. I wanted to make sure that I was going to this doctor because she understood that not only did I want my implants out, I also wanted the capsule, which is what surrounds the implant, that has to be taken out as well. So, okay, I'm going to wait till December of 2020. It is what it is. My husband came home one day and says, "Can you do me a favor? Can you please just go see a doctor here in, New York?" I said, "Alan, I really, really like this doctor. I've waited, almost a year and a half now." And he said, "But please just do me a favor. Can you just please go and just have the consultation?" So I did. And I went to see Dr. Light. I met him. He was wonderful. He understood breast implant illness. He understood taking out the capsule. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is great. A doctor that understands it, that's here in New York. And he actually had an opening for the surgery, actually October of 2020. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to go with it. So I decided on October 5th of 2020 to go and have my explant with it's called an en bloc capsulotomy. That's where they take out that capsule as well as the implant. It's all intact. So I had that done on October 5th of 2020, and it was the
Yeah.
best
Well,
decision.
yeah, I guess so. So, it's really interesting that your husband sort of had this intuition who, really kind of pressured you to go and see someone else. It's
Yes.
interesting how, those kinds of things can lead us to the best ultimate option. So kudos to your
Absolutely.
husband. Wow.
Absolutely. Yes.
I do have quite a few friends who had implants and they went I mean, one person years ago had nothing but problems with them, infections all the time. And it is interesting that you said that there are some plastic surgeons who poo-poo that, like they think you're crazy. And I've definitely heard that from surgeons. And then you have other people, other surgeons who are just like, this is real.
Yep.
And it kind of makes sense. You have this foreign object in your body,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So, and I've talked to so many people who actually went to a surgeon to have them explanted and opted for the DIEP Flap surgery, which,
Yep.
or they also, some have opted to just stay
Just
flat,
be
which
flat.
is
Right.
also,
An option.
beautiful and an
Yep.
option, right?
Yes.
So tell us about how your cancer was found.
Yeah. So I always say that my explant was the best thing that happened to me, but also the worst thing that happened to me. And when I say that, I say it that it was best thing that happened to me because they were finally out. Those toxic bags were out of my body, and I, was feeling so much better within like a couple of days.
Mhm.
And I had gone to see Dr. Light for my 2-week post-op, and he says to me, how are you feeling? And I said, oh my gosh, I feel like $1,000,000. Those were my exact words, because I really did. And he kind of was like, oh. And I was kind of just like, what do you mean? Oh, like I was kind of like, oh, all right. And he said, let's talk about your pathology. And as soon as he said that, like those words were like it just like was a gut wrenching punch. And I knew because I had worked in a plastic surgeon's office a long time ago. So I knew when a doctor says that, it's not good. So I said, it's not good. And he had said, No. He said, they found DCIS on your capsule. So that was the capsule that I wanted taken out, because that was like the most important thing to me. And here I find out that I have a 3 millimeter spot on my capsule. And I just remember feeling like I heard him talking, but I didn't hear him talking. It kind of sounded like, Charlie Brown and Snoopy, the want, 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 want. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is DCIS? Like, and I knew a little bit about DCIS because 3 months prior, my girlfriend was diagnosed with it. So I do remember when I heard the DCIS, I'm like, wait, I know I heard that before, and I know my girlfriend was going through it. So that
Can
was
you can you explain to our audience what you learned about DCIS? What does it mean? What does all that mean?
so DCIS is ductal carcinoma in stew. And what that means is that the cancer is in the milk ducts. It hasn't come out, which is good, but it's still scary, because it's something that could. There's that fine line because some say it is cancer, some say it's not, but it's that fine line. Um, what I find a little odd, or maybe I don't know if I find this coincidental or not or whatever, but my first set of implants that I had were were put in 2000, and I had the textured saline implants put in, which are the ones that are recalled. So
Okay.
in 2000, I had my first set, which was the textured saline implants. In 2008, I had an exchange, and I went from saline to silicone. So when I went for my exchange back in 2008, I had to go for a mammogram, and I did that. And when I went for my mammogram and my sonogram, they had seen calcifications on my right breast, which at the time I was like, okay, maybe I thought maybe I had too much deodorant. You kind of like chalk all this stuff up to, it's something, but they kept having me come back and they checked and it wasn't. And at that time, I had to go see a breast surgeon because we didn't know what was going on at this particular moment, that I had these implants that are showing calcifications. But we weren't sure if it was in the implant or if it was in the breast. So in 2008, when I had my exchange, I had to have it done in a hospital because at the time, I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to put the new implants in.
Mhm.
Because if it was something cancerous, they were just going to take the implants out, and then I was going to go for whatever they had found. Um, it wound up being there was stuff in my implant. Don't know what the stuff was, but there was floating something in my saline implants that was showing on my mammogram. Back in 2008, though, BIALCL was not even a topic. And that is something that they're finding if you have textured saline implants or textured implants, that could lead to that type of cancer.
Hmm.
So is it a coincidental? I don't know. It is kind of odd that it was on my right breast, but back in 2008, they saw something. They said it was in the implant, and that was it. Now, fast forward to 2020, the DCIS is in my right breast. So interesting.
Yeah. Coincidental. Coincidental. Maybe it did have. I guess maybe we'll never know. But you had stuff in your stuff.
Yeah, I had stuff in my stuff, and I don't know what it was. Kind of scary.
Yeah. It's always nice to know what the stuff in your stuff is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So when you found out, was it I want to say that if it travels past the ducts, it's stage 2, right?
Correct. I'm not
And
sure what stage, but yes, it's definitely. It's not when DCIS it stays in, so it's not that it's better, but it's better in the sense that it hasn't left
It's
anything.
early. Right.
Correct.
Early
Yeah.
detection is where it's at. Test those breasts.
That's right. Test those breasts. That's right.
And something, so you had a couple things working for you. Number one, you had this intuition to go and get those things taken out. You
Yes.
had been feeling ill, and it just sort of one thing led to another. Your husband nudged you to go see another doctor. You ran into Dr. Light. He was the one who gave you that diagnosis. And then what happened from there? What were your treatments like, and all the things,
All that's
Stephanie?
good. All the roller coaster. Let's get on that roller coaster right now. So my treatment was because I had just gone through surgery. So I had just had my implants removed. I had a lift done. So I couldn't even possibly think of having any other surgery at this particular moment because I was just like, okay. So my two options were either 17 rounds of radiation or have a double mastectomy. And at this point, I just couldn't go down the double mastectomy or even a mastectomy route at this point. I said, you know what? I'm going to go down the road and do the 17 rounds of radiation. In my situation, because they didn't exactly know where on my right breast it was, I had to have radiation on my entire breast because, when
Okay.
they took it out, they know it's the right breast. They don't know, was it at 12 o'clock? Was it at 2 o'clock? Was it, closer to my chest wall? They didn't exactly know where this uh, piece came from. So that's why they had to do the whole breast. So I did 17 rounds. My last day was on Christmas Eve, which was the best present because I got to ring that bell, and it was amazing. So I did that, and then now the next year and a half, I'm going every 3 months. Whether it's a mammo and a sono, then 3 months later MRI, then 3 months later mammo sono. You're going and you're doing all this, and I think it was about 9 months into it, they had found something. So now I had to, this was the longest weekend of going and having sonos and mammos. They're trying to figure it out. They're not sure. So now I spent a whole weekend thinking, what did they find now? And I'm like, oh my goodness. So had to wait until the doctor was back in on Monday to tell me that we're going to have to do a biopsy. And now we have to go and biopsy it. So after that, I said, I'm done. I'm done. I got to get off this roller coaster ride. And I spoke to Dr. Light and I said, you know what? I know we spoke about having, a mastectomy. Um, how do we do this? Because I want to do this. I don't want to deal with this anymore, and I'm not putting implants back in. So what is my other option? And that's when we discussed that I would have a nipple and skin sparing double mastectomy, and I'm gonna have a DIEP flap. So that's where they take the fat from your stomach area and they put it up, in your breast. So my breasts look exactly the same. I have my same nipples, same skin. It's just not breast tissue in there. It's the fat from my stomach.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Do you have any sensation in your breasts?
I do. I do.
Okay.
I have little sensation. My nipples work. They work totally fine. Like it's crazy because you say to yourself like, how is that? But that's all due to Dr. Light and being a great microsurgeon and making sure everything was attached. Um, it's definitely not 100% sensation, but I definitely have sensation. 100%.
Okay.
Yes.
That's so good to hear because I've had surgeons tell me straight up, not none that I have interviewed, but oh, sensation sparing isn't possible. So I always thought, okay, the jury must be out because that we're not sure, but the real answer is that it is possible. we don't know, everyone is different, and it depends on, this is why you want to make sure that you get a really good microsurgeon so that they
Yes.
can reattach. For some ladies, it comes back, a lot more than others. Some don't have any success with it. And I have been told by one surgeon who actually, he and I did interview about it. He said that even if there is not a lot of sensation that comes back, if any, it's worth a try, right? So if somebody asks you, do you want to try to
Yes.
do, nerve sparing? I mean, obviously, why not, right? Especially if you're doing the DIEP
Right.
flap or
Yeah.
whatever, right? So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yes.
I actually had made a comment in a group one time, and I said, I think that the jury is out on that. There are some surgeons who are adamant that that is just not possible, and then there's some that say that it is possible. And it wasn't my opinion at all, but somebody came back and said that is so inaccurate, and I'm like, okay, well that's cool. I'm so glad because I don't have a lot of sensation in my breasts. I do on the sides a little bit.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't really know enough about that. So anyway, I'm glad that she set me straight because I didn't know.
Right.
And I'm always a learner. I always I'm always searching for the best and most up to date, answers on things. So I'm glad to hear that Dr. Light was able to do that for you. That makes me so
Yeah.
happy because somebody asked me one time, do you, because my friends and I think you probably followed us. We went to San Antonio to get our 3D nipple and areola tattoos
Yep.
from Perky. And somebody asked me, did it hurt? And I said, no, I couldn't feel
Because
it.
yeah, yeah.
you know so and I have a pretty high pain tolerance
Yeah.
anyway,
Me
so
too.
I've got
Me too.
I've got a big old phoenix on my back, and that was pretty painful because it just where it was, but not too bad. But anyway, I was just so happy to hear though about nipple or nerve sparing because
Yeah.
it's sensation sparing.
Yeah.
So you went through the radiation. So by this time they saw something else? Did you have to go through any other treatment, like any chemos or anything like that?
No chemo. They felt that the radiation was going to be fine. They wanted me to go on hormone, uh, like tamoxifen or whatever
Blockers.
it was.
Oh,
One of
yeah.
those, and I opted not to. I said I'm already in menopause, so like I don't. I'd rather not. So I opted not to do that. And the radiation, I had a wonderful technician. She was absolutely great. Like you would never know that I had radiation. It wasn't like it was I was burnt or I mean the right side is definitely a little bit more I'll say firmer in the sense because the skin, but beautiful job. Like no discoloration. I mean, she did a really really great job.
And then you look great with the DIEP flap surgery. Dr. Light was able to work his magic,
Oh
and
yeah.
it just makes me so happy to know that I was able to be introduced to yet another amazing microsurgeon
Yeah.
because and plastic surgeon, because I never even knew about this kind of surgery.
A lot of people
Never knew.
don't. A lot of people don't, and that's like, listen, not everybody's a candidate, right? I happen to be a candidate. I had, like, I called it my little kangaroo pouch that I had, and I like it's crazy because I was like, whatever, he's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to give you like the same size that you were before. I said, I don't care. I don't care what size I am. Like if I'm only an A, I'm only an A. I don't care. I'm not putting implants in again. So like that wasn't an option. But for women out there that can't have it because they don't have the extra, fat in their tummy area. I know there's
Right.
other different flaps. You can get it from the back, you can get it from your thigh. I know there's other methods. But let's just say somebody doesn't have any fat on their body. Then, the other choices is to either, have implants or to be flat. And listen, if that's their only option, as long as they know all the risks that come with having breast implants, then you make your own decision, at the end of the
Right.
day. So
Well, and also getting second opinions. What one surgeon says to a person about not being a candidate, another surgeon may say something completely different. And that's why I always say,
correct.
look, you need to go get a second, a third opinion, whatever,
Yep.
advocate for yourself. I did find out about this new thing. I had a woman, a really sweet woman that I actually had a conversation with the other day. She had reached out to me, and I think she lives in Florida, I think. Her daughter lives in California. Her daughter, anyway, she found my podcast and sent me a message and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that because I found your podcast, my daughter has breast cancer. And it's because of your podcast that we were able to figure out some options for her surgery, which was awesome." But she
Awesome.
emailed me the other day and she said that the surgeon who is offering an option of what's called Omentum, and I had never heard of it before. So I texted my surgeon, Dr. Cabling, and said, "Hey, what is Omentum?" And anyway, he got back to me right away. My surgeon is amazing as well. And he said it's an organ in your stomach that is full of just fat. It says Omentum is an organ inside your abdomen. It's mostly fat and can be used as a flap. There's only one of it, so it can't be used for two sides. And
Okay.
it requires microsurgery to transfer it, and it doesn't carry skin.
Hmm.
So another
Interesting.
option. And
Yeah.
it's one that's not used often, but it is an option. And I was like,
Right.
who knew? You
Yeah,
learn something new
exactly.
every day, right?
Exactly. That's good. It's another option, like you said.
Exactly. Yeah. So, okay. So let's kind of go into what is Stephanie doing post cancer, post DIEP Flap. Are you working with anyone in the breast cancer community? What's happening with you now?
So I say that this whole journey and the silver lining to this whole thing that I had to go through is that I feel that I'm definitely an advocate for breast implant illness, breast cancer, deep flap. I'm here. I'm an open book. I share my story. I try to help anybody that's going down the road because you know what? There really wasn't anybody helping me. I just kind of, I mean, I'm one of those people that if I need to find answers, I'm going and doing all my homework and everything. So now I have, I help people. One of the main sources that I think is a great tool that I'm featured in, and so is Dr. Light, is Learn, Look, Locate. That's a
Yes.
great avenue for women that have any type of questions having to do with anything with related to breast cancer, breast implant illness, even any type of medicine. And it's just it's a great source of information.
And
So
your story's in there.
yep,
My story's in there.
great. Yep,
Yeah, it is a fantastic resource. And in
yeah,
fact, I will go ahead and put that in the show notes so that people can see where that is. And I have every intention of putting that on my website as well.
great.
As people know, my website is still being built.
Yep,
It has some things on there, but ultimately, I want to have that resource page where people can go to and learn, and like all in one place. And Learn, Look, Locate will definitely be on there.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I love it. So thank you for helping also tell your story and helping with the breast cancer community. What kind of advice do you have? What I really love to ask, because this is really powerful. What kind of advice do you have for people who've never ever even been diagnosed with breast cancer?
um so like I think the main thing that I want to get out there is to do your homework. If you're thinking about doing getting breast implants, make sure you do all your homework. Make sure that the doctor that you're going to see is giving you all the information, all the the pros and the cons and anything that could, go down the line. Know that there is a chance that having implants can cause cancer. That's, it can happen. And you know what? I mean, the best thing that I feel is, and I say this all the time, is, trust your gut. So if you feel that it's not the right thing to do, then don't do it. If you go and speak with a doctor and you're not feeling, go get a second opinion.
Mhm.
Just trust that gut, because I feel that that is the best thing that's going to help you during any of these processes.
Yeah, great advice. It's such great advice. I say this pretty much every single time. One of the target audiences that I have for Test Those Breasts are people who've never been diagnosed.
Mhm.
And because a lot of what we're saying is kind of preaching to the choir to breast cancer patients or breast cancer survivors, right? Because
Yeah.
but they still learn a lot. Like being survivors, we're still learning something
Oh,
every day, which is
absolutely.
great. So
Yeah.
my audience is anyone who has breasts is my audience.
Yeah.
But I really like to make sure that people who've never even had breast cancer to be paying attention too, because it's what you do when you're paying attention that matters, and early detection and
Oh, yeah.
intuition is
Yep.
key,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then having, someone, not everybody, of course, has a partner and things like that, but you just had that, added icing on the cake where your husband, Alan, is like, hey, you need to go to another doctor here.
Mhm.
So again, please, pat him on the back for me
Oh,
because
you're
that's
welcome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Stephanie, this has been wonderful. I'm noticing, I think I have birdies in, at our house and you
Oh,
have
hi.
birdies at
Oh,
yours.
yes.
Can
And
totally
yep.
hear your birdies. I think it's so cute. Some people are so, wrapped up in the quality of their podcasts and stuff like that. I mean, I try to do my very best, but I kind of like those little sound effects. Birds are
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
happy for me. So
It's great. I have
sometimes,
like a little wildlife over here.
yeah, sometimes I have dogs barking. One time I was interviewing someone a few months back and there was an earthquake right in the middle of
Oh.
my interview and the dogs were barking. I'm like, and I had felt the house move a little bit.
You're like,
I'm like,
well,
oh my God, there was just an earthquake just now and I'm going to leave it in the episode.
there you go.
Anyway, well, I just really truly appreciate your taking the time today to talk to us about not only, your, implant illness and how that led you to finding your cancer and led you to Dr. Light, but also your wonderful outlook and what you do for the breast cancer community by telling your story and, advice get to give to people. Is there anything you would like to say before we disconnect here?
Just, like I said before, trust your gut. And like you said, like, you know what? Test those breasts.
Test those breasts.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Stephanie. Well, you have a good rest of your day, and I will see everyone else on the next episode of Test Those Breasts. And I appreciate your joining us. And again, as always, please, on your favorite platform, if you can rate and review this show, that would be very helpful. It always is. It just helps it get out there to more people in the world. And so, thank you for that. And again, test those breasts. See you next time.